What's up, everybody? All my doll faces that I don't have very many of just yet, which I hope to get a lot more of you doll faces in the near future. And as this video says, I'm gonna kind of incite you guys and like get a little out in look or whatever it's called, little sight into my personal life. Which is kind of weird because this is my second video of Runescape that I'm putting up, and I just think that if I'm gonna start gaining a little base here of people that will watch me, I'm gonna have to get you guys on a personal level, and this level is gonna be how depression um, really affects other people's lives and how it actually, in a personal story of how my family is today and how it's been able to be fixed and what it went through. So, in no means is this a diss toward people who have depression or um, a kind of cure, because really, depression is a serious issue and should not be taken lightly in any way. If someone tells you they're depressed, don't try and tell them like, "Oh no, you're not depressed. It's just a phase." If someone's legitly sad and they know it, it's depression. They can't fix it. So my dad has depression. My dad is 41 years old, and I love my dad. I love my family. I love everyone in it. And yeah, they get on my nerves, but holy shit, I love them. I don't know what I'd do without my family. They've given me everything I've ever wanted, put a roof over my head, and even they're still together. My parents are still together, so I'm very thankful for that, because I know some people have a split household, which is very sad. But depression hit my dad when he was around like 30, 32. And at the time when he was 32, I'm 17 now. That was 8 years ago. So I was 9 years old about the time he became clinically depressed. And that's about the time he figured out that he has diabetes. And my dad is not an overweight guy. It runs in the family. The diabetes is genetic in our side, and heart disease is on my mom's side. So I'm pretty much fucked for the future. And he's not overweight, but he's not like in the best shape. He could get better. Um, but around the time he got diabetes was the time he got depressed, and the depression instantly started affecting the family and this lifestyle. Because I kind of remember my dad before he was depressed, and he was a happy-go-lucky guy. He's like me, and I take after a little bit of my dad. And I hate to say it now, but I really don't like to be compared to my dad because of what's been happening the past couple years with him. But I love my dad. So, however, the depression struck, and we remember we got this recliner for his birthday, and he would never leave that chair. He would always sit there, like after work, he'll come back, and that's what he'd do. He'd sit there and watch TV all day. And I kind of noticed that he started to drink a lot more. He was a heavy drinker. Then I remember the first time we ever got in a huge argument. And I don't know what it was over, but I remember he grabbed me by the neck and he like slammed me against the wall. I was like, holy shit. So I was like 11 at the time, so I went into my room crying and shit, like wondering what the fuck happened. So that freaked me out. And that's when I kind of started to realize there's been a change in his behavior, and it kind of got worse until like age 14. When I was 14 years old, it kind of reached a point where um, the household got so bad I would just stay in my room all day. And staying in my room all day was basically what I did. I come home, and it affected me too. I was in grade school. I wasn't really the greatest kid. I was talkative. I wasn't really picked on. I was just there. It wasn't really popular. Um, but I didn't do much of my schoolwork, and my grades suffered because of it. I graduated. Well, it's eighth grade, but I passed my eighth grade graduation with C's, which isn't good. I hate getting C's. I actually finally picked myself up at the end of my junior year when I got my job, got everything together. Besides the fact, sorry about that. Um, yeah, basically, I would kind of just sit back in my room and not do anything. I was afraid to leave my room. I was like afraid. It was legit. I didn't want to go out there, and I was afraid of my dad. So basically, my dad has been absent of my life for 6 years. Since I was 11. I mean, he's been there, but he hasn't been mentally there. Basically, I've been raised by my mom, and believe it or not, some people I've watched on YouTube is kind of influenced my behavior in some sort of way, and that's how I'm growing up, and that's how I'll continue to grow up. Is I'll rather make my own mistakes and take advice from my own dad. But I kind of learned to accept that fact after everything's been gone through. But that's not part. Okay, okay, back to the story. So basically, he was severely depressed, and him and my mom would get in arguments. And I remember my dad is he's so respectful to women, and that's one thing I'm so glad that he taught me was actually how to be respectful, because that is like one thing that people are not even doing anymore, is being respectful to women. And he taught me how to, and he would never call a girl like a woman mean shit. He wouldn't hit a woman. He would never do anything like that. But the first time I've ever seen him scream at my mom was the day like I I was just awestruck. Like it blew me away. And my sister and I were at home, and I remember it was their anniversary. And as soon as my mom walked in the door, he called her like, "You fucking bitch!" And that was the initial reaction. I was playing video games. I remember what I was playing. I was playing Far Cry Instincts, and it's an older game. I love that game. It's beautiful. And my sister, she ran up the stairs, and then she ran straight to her room crying. And I was like, "Ah, shit." So I was like, I can't hear this. I turned off the game, went into my room, and they screamed at each other for like an hour. And I was like, whoa, this is my dad now. What has happened? He has changed. I almost forgot what he was like. So that was a pretty bad moment. I've lived a pretty good life, but that's a low for me. Just hearing that happen, and to have your kids know that a divorce is imminent in the future is it's pretty sad, knowing that people you love, or how someone can go from loving you to instantly turn around and have that opinion be changed instantly and just have a divorce. That is pretty insane. So my dad he was depressed, and what we didn't know just yet, my mom picked up on it pretty quick, because she knows, of course, they're married. They've been married for 20 years now. Well, they've been together like 23, been married like 19 or something like that. But she knows him like the back of her hand, and so she instantly knew like he was hooked on drugs. My dad recently got off painkillers, fucked him up pretty bad, but he's off him now apparently, and he's been on those for 6 years. So it really started taking effect the past 3 years, when after all that screaming and shit happened, um, it kind of mellowed out. Everything in the house like started to cool down, but there was always that tension you'd always feel. And I'd go downstairs, and then there's tension. You just feel it. My mom wouldn't talk to him. My dad wouldn't talk to anyone. He was always quiet. Like I would even go days without talking to my dad. It was crazy. And basically the relationship, it fell apart. I didn't really care to talk to him, tell him how my day was, because even to this day my dad knows absolutely nothing about me whatsoever. He barely even knows my birthday. But so he was on drugs, and it's pretty crazy. And sorry, I kind of sound a little weird. It's 1:30 in the morning. That's like the only time I get alone to kind of talk to myself and talk like in a projecting way, without people hearing me and thinking I'm pretty weird. But trying to be a little quieter. But so yeah, he got on drugs, and I was like, okay, yeah. So this is my dad now. Oh, my dad's a drug addict, and I couldn't believe it, but it was true. So their entire retirement, all their savings for like their 401k and all that, they had like I think $20,000 in there. That's like $20,000, and in 6 years, my dad had spent all that money on drugs. So as soon you could tell he was on something. My mom would call it his happy pills to kind of like censor it for us when we were little. And basically, as soon as he ran out of those pills, you understood. Like there would even be it's so sad to have to tell neighbors and tell you like if I even had to tell my kids that, oh yeah, your mom is um she's not on her happy pills, so don't talk to her, don't piss her off. It's really sad. It's heartbreaking just to hear that, and it's embarrassing too because your dad has to be on pills not to flip out on you. And my friend Noah is a pretty good. He knows what it's like to be me. You guys will probably meet Noah in the future. He's home runs. Um, but he would always be there, and he'd hear my dad screaming when we were on Skype when we were like 10 years old or whatever and shit. So he knows firsthand account what it's like for me, which wasn't really as bad. I have a pretty good life. I'm not trying to make it sound like, oh, my life's so bad. I have a pretty good life. I'm just telling you this. So basically, instantly when he's out of pills because he'll come home and he's butthurt. He's like huffing and puffing, walking in the door, and you just know that that's who he is. It's like, what have you become? Where is the man that was supposed to lead me? Where was the man that would teach me how to shave? It would teach me how to change a tire, teach me how to drive. I mean, for fuck's sakes, like driving with him, I was terrified. But I eventually learned to drive. He taught me to drive. Um, but it was great. Um, sorry. What do you say? Big snuggles and shit for leaving fish, whatever. Whatever. But more recently, about 5 months ago, I have no specific timeline. I kind of try to block everything out of this timeline into my head. Um, he he got off the pills. He said that there was some revelation in his mind. Like he actually sat us down and he would talk to us saying that, oh yeah, I've been on these pills for 6 years, and we had to play it off acting like we didn't know, but really we did. And at first, because I was the one that was affected most by it out of the sibling wise, because I have a sister who's a year younger, and she wasn't really affected by the entire thing. It was just me. So my sister was like, okay, I'll forgive you easy, and I was like, I love you, but no, you're not getting off too easy. So eventually we still had more like fights and shit. And like as soon as I would come home, we'd start going at it. It's just we'd just start yelling at each other and shit. And it was pretty bad. So he was depressed. He still is clinically depressed. Um and he's off the pills. But basically before he said that if he didn't have to take my sister to school that day because there was something. I don't know why I think I wanted to stay home or I went to school first and it was something. I took the car for something. And my dad was like, if I wouldn't have to take your sister to school, I would have killed myself. And he told us the plan how he wanted to kill himself. He wanted to take his work van, and take a metal sheet. It's a big, thick stainless steel sheet, and it's pretty thick. I would say about half an inch. And my dad is a gun owner, so he would drive out to the middle of the desert. He wrote a note. I have not read that note. I'm pretty sure it's gone. And he said that he lay down a bunch of like sheets and stuff to clean it up, and like this is really graphic details. I'm sorry, but he would shoot himself in the chest, and the sheet would be on his back, so it wouldn't damage the van. Then the plastic wrap is there so they could take it out, and that's how he would kill himself. And for me, there's a fine line between killing yourself and if it's selfish or not, and that's a topic that's up for debate for me, and I'll gladly talk about it in a private area, but I feel like this is not the time to do that. But basically, that's how he wanted to do it, and if my sister didn't need to ride to school that day, he would have done it. So, my sister saved a life unknowingly, and I'm glad she did. So, depression is not an issue that should be taken lightly. If someone tells you they are depressed, or if you are depressed as it is, because it'll take a lot to admit that you're depressed. My parents thought I was depressed for years, and I've never been depressed. So I cannot tell you what it's like to be depressed. I can't tell you that. It's, for me, to tell you how depression is like, it's dumb. I've never had it. I've never been through it. I know what sadness is, but I've never been through the mental instability. I shouldn't call it mental instability. I could call it a disorder, something wrong that could make me that sad, to make me think. Because I've always been a happy guy. I've always been just go forward, man. That's how life goes. Life's gonna be shitty sometimes. I've always been that type of guy. I always like look on the bright side. But it's not an issue that should be taken lightly. And if you know someone that's depressed, if you know someone, if you're even depressed, but if you're depressed, then you should really open your eyes. And opening your eyes is probably the next step to getting better. And if you know someone that's depressed, then take them out. Have fun. Do something with them. Because honestly, for me, when I'm sad, I'll go outside with my friends, or like go to the movies, go to the mall or something. It takes their mind off everything. It's just, you're out there with your friends, you're chilling, you're watching a movie, you're just relaxing. And that's the way I've gotten over like heartbreaks and shit. That's how I did it. And I would recommend it to anyone. So that's my story on depression. It is not an issue to be taken lightly. It is this is very personal. I feel like I am 73, but I feel like it's something you guys should know, and I hope that this helps some of you, because I know what it's like. It destroys families. Well, I don't know the feeling, but I know what it's like to be in a I know what it's like to families who have a family member that's depressed. It destroys a family. It tears them apart. It's bad. It's not an issue to be taken lightly. And for the people who say that people who are depressed are weak, that's just ignorance. And that's probably for another topic, is ignorance around here. But that is my story on depression and how it turns around and can ruin a family, and the slow rebuilding process that me and my dad are going through, which I'm so glad to say has gotten a lot better. But it's not gonna. This still has a long way to go. It's come a long way, but it's still, I can barely see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm so glad everything is coming back. So that's my story. I can tell you more personal stories that come. I've kind of been through quite a bit in my 17 years, believe it or not. A lot of it's secret. I don't really tell a lot of people, but I kind of want to know people here on a personal level, and I want you guys to know me on a personal level. So I hope you guys have a great day, have a great night. You guys are all doll faces, and talk to you another time.